Well, welcome to Mining Now, and we're live from the trade show at PDAC, and my name is Roy Slack, and I'm your host today, and I'm speaking with Jordan Downey of Savona Equipment, and thanks for joining us, Jordan.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, before we get started, I want to say thank you to your company on behalf of CIM, because when we envisioned Mining Now, which is CIM and Crownsmen, we thought about who could support us, and your group has been such a strong supporter, so thank you on behalf of CIM.
Thank you very much.
And so let's start out with a bit of your background. How did you get in this business?
I got in this business through, it's a family business. Savona's Equipment is a family business. My father started in the 80s. So I started working in the shop, in the yard, running forklift, working on equipment they were refurbishing, etc. And then eventually I moved into sales.
From the ground up?
Pretty much, yeah.
From the tires up, yeah. Excellent. And so Savona is an equipment company.
Mm-hmm.
So what type of equipment? I mean, mining is not just mining either, but let's talk mining today.
Yeah, predominantly we're a mining equipment company, but we also work in construction, aggregate, recycling, and then we have an electrical business as well that ties into that, but is also separate, kind of a separate local clientele as well.
Okay, well, one of the projects on your website was Almaden. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Almaden.
And I thought that was a very interesting project, and it's quite a scope on that. Could you tell us about that one?
Yeah, so Almaden had kind of I guess I'd say a delay in their project for this plant. They'd purchased the plant. It's the Rock Creek Mill in Nome, Alaska. So they'd purchased this plant intending to put it into operation. As of now, they're exploring options to sell the plant because it's being stored at that site. So they'd like to explore selling it. So they contacted us, and we had a past relationship with them, and they contacted us and asked us if we could help them do that. So we said yes. I went up there and looked at the plant. It looked good. It's remote, obviously, but there's actually pretty good access. There's a good team that can take it out. So we decided to take it on.
Okay, and it's, if I remember correctly, it's a carbon in leach plant, 3,500 tons per day. So it's a substantial operation.
Yeah, it's 7,000 tons per day.
Oh, really?
That's the crushing and the milling, and the gravity circuit will handle that kind of volume. The CIL circuit is smaller.
Okay.
The intention was to add a flotation circuit there to keep up with the milling end of it.
Yeah.
So that's not there in the plant, but it can be added later, and that's obviously something that Savona Equipment could do, is put together a flotation plant or source one, find one.
Okay. So you have hit the extremes of my knowledge of processing because I'm an underground guy. But there's, let's say I have some equipment to sell. So whether it's, for our group, it would be underground equipment, but whatever. What's the process? I call you up, and what happens from there?
So it's a little bit situational, but the basic process is our team comes in, we get a good list, good pictures, all the information that you typically need for advertising equipment, and then we essentially post it on our website and start marketing and advertising it. That's if it's simple. If it's but sometimes it's not simple, right? So sometimes the equipment needs to be brought into our shop and refurbished. There's all sorts of things that can come into play, but that's essentially what we do is on that side of it. We also buy equipment, but on the broker resale side of it, we just put the information together, package it nicely to represent the equipment as best we can, and then we get it out to our customers.
Let's talk about our Heavy Industry World Tour, brought to you by Savona Equipment, supplying mining equipment worldwide. And Corporate Traveler Canada, helping companies travel the globe simpler, faster, easier. We are heading to events across North America and Australia and filming episodes on location. Email us at info@crownsmen.com to be part of Crownsmen's Heavy Industry World Tour. Did you know cementitious binders can be responsible for up to 70% of the total GHG footprint of mine backfilling processes? Now you can replace up to 50% of the binder in your mine backfill operations with Graybond, Graymond's new low-carbon cementitious binder. This lime-based alternative binder maintains a 40 to 70% lower GHG footprint compared to typical cement and can adapt to varying mine conditions without compromising performance. Learn more about Graybond at graybond.com. MineTech helps mine sites like yours improve their safety, profitability, and compliance with world-class sound attenuation, water management, underground ventilation, and electrical solutions, enabling their customers to make and save millions of dollars through increased production, limited downtime, automation, and reduced energy consumption. Relied upon by more than 3,200 sites across 25 countries, their global team is standing by to offer end-to-end support and custom solutions for noisy mining machinery, toxic mine water of all qualities, metalliferous underground ventilation, and evolving electrical needs. Learn what MineTech could do for your site. Visit minetech.com/innovation.
So there's all kinds of there's consignment. There's you actually buying equipment, and then you mentioned refurbishing. So it's not just brokering equipment. You can take used equipment and rebuild it or customize it.
We can, and we do quite a bit of that. Underground equipment, for example, gets pretty beat up.
Yes.
It's a big job to rebuild or refurbish an underground fleet, and we can do that. But depends on what. Usually, we do that per the customer's request. They might want it as is, and they'll take it and rebuild it themselves, or they ask us to do it. So transportation comes into play on that. Even across Canada, it could be expensive to ship equipment. So you might have to do it locally. Even though we're selling it, we'd like to run it through our shop. We might have to get someone local to do it in Quebec or Ontario or something like that.
It makes sense instead of shipping it to your shop. And you're based in British Columbia.
Yes.
Your shop.
Yeah.
Instead of shipping it there and then back. Yeah. If so, you'd be coordinating with a local group to refurbish.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, predominantly we sell as is equipment. Yeah. For underground, it depends what it is, but for underground equipment, milling, crushing, it's mostly as is. So we're really looking for good quality equipment. If it's been basically ran into the ground, there's not much you can do with it. It's the same price as a new one to rebuild that.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Now we can segue into underground, which is my area, and I remember at Resolution the Never Sweat Tunnel, and they called it that because it was a road header that did it.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean there wasn't some sweat involved, but there's a mention of road headers on your website. Tell us about that.
So we never did much with road headers. I had no real experience with road headers. And then a company approached us, and they had underground equipment for the Site C dam, and they wanted us to help them resell these road headers. So we took those on, and as we've taken those on, all of a sudden, connecting with all these people in the world that need road headers or have road headers.
It's a big industry.
Yeah. So. I mean, the Sandvik road headers that I've been involved with, there's 4 of them, MT 720 and 3 MT 520s. They probably will go into a tunneling project outside of the mining industry. That seems to be their purpose, but.
Yeah, the road header industry and civil is much larger than mining, but we're starting to see it creep into mining now a bit, which is all good news.
Yeah, it's brought up a lot of interesting projects, civil projects, like you say, that we wouldn't normally in the mining sector have been privy of or involved in. So it's been kind of interesting for me that way. See what's going on around the world. Yeah.
And we talked about electrical and my experience, it seems like another area I don't have any expertise in. There's lots of those, but electrical, when we look at a capital project, it seems like the longest delivery is always electrical equipment. And you're involved in electrical equipment, which I'm assuming can shorten delivery time.
Yeah, it can. We have a lot of surplus electrical that we buy and sell. Usually, electrical we do rebuild it.
Yeah,
Just about
sure.
nothing is sold as is.
Yeah.
Electrical is not my forte. We kind
There's
of
two
have
of us.
we have a separate electrical department,
Okay.
but yeah, it definitely can. We can shorten lead times. We'll source equipment or electrical equipment out of a mine or different places, and then we can turn it around. It doesn't take us very long to rebuild it, as long as we have all the parts. But you're right. If you have to start ordering it brand new, panels, it can take a long time.
It seems to be the longest delivery of any capital equipment we've seen, certainly in the mining industry. And yeah, we're not the two guys to talk about electrical.
No.
Right? That's okay.
LiveMine is the data management solution for the digital mine, making mining operations paperless through an intuitive and easy-to-use app developed by mining professionals with decades of real-world experience, trusted by operators in 7 countries across the globe. Get better and more accurate data faster than ever and throw away your paper plods, PDF printouts, and shift sheets. Visit livemine.com.au to learn more. Your partner in technical services, AMPS, have been industry leaders in technical services optimization systems and training since 2011. With a team of over 70 resource professionals, AMPS provides world-class support to mining technical services teams globally. AMPS builds the capabilities within teams on site to maximize results and unlock value in mining operations. With significant experience in operational underground and open pit engineering and geology, AMPS is passionate about delivering value to their clients across an array of professional services. If you're looking to improve your mine site's technical services, visit advancedmps.com or email partner@advancedmps.com today.
And the 50 countries, I read that on your website, but obviously you're dealing with equipment, a lot of different countries, and logistics are getting more and more complicated. So what happens when you're taking some gear from Alaska to Chile, or I'm just rhyming some countries off, but what about the logistics?
So that is a big reason why people deal with our company. The logistics are complicated, and sometimes it could be not a high value item. Right now we're dealing with shipping generators out of Korea to Africa, and it's difficult. And if you just call up a company, that you don't really know that well, and once they hit those difficulties, it's quite challenging because you have to go through all this paperwork, all these steps, everything's changing, and we do that. That's the kind of service we provide. We don't just, it doesn't get a quarter of the way there and then we just throw our hands up and give up. We make sure it actually gets to its destination.
Yeah, that's a really important point, because when capital projects is my thing. And one of the largest risk items in recent years has been logistics and delivery. And when we look at what's happening with the major canals in the Middle East and Panama, routes are changing and risk is growing.
Yeah, and everyone wants to offload that risk.
Yeah.
So, and we'd like it to be easy, of course.
If it was easy, anyone could do it.
That's right. So yeah, we're not a freight broker, but that's who we work with. We work with the brokers, we work with customs, and we get the equipment where it needs to go. I mean, that's a tenet of our business, is guaranteeing that what you buy, you'll get. I mean, in a worst case scenario, I guess we return your money, but ultimately, when we sell something, we're going to make sure that you get it.
Yeah. And so you've got there, I was very impressed, I must admit. I looked at the website, all of the equipment that you're involved in, but you're always on the lookout for equipment too. I mean, your group must know the demand. What equipment are you looking for from the market?
So one of the challenges with used equipment is supply. We don't have a guaranteed or a steady supply of any given piece of equipment or plant that we're looking for. So a lot of things we'll have advertised on our website, they'll be sold, but we still have customers looking. So they'll ask us, "Can you find us?" Right now there's probably 10 to 20 items that we send out every week to our mailing list, asking, do you have this
Oh,
equipment? It
okay.
can be something as small as a transformer, or it could be a 10,000 ton per day gold silver mill. Obviously harder to find, but it works pretty well though. We're very good at sourcing what people need when they need it, because again, that's the hardest part of the
That's your
used
business.
market.
That's
Yeah.
yeah. And you did mention something at the start that caught my ear about uh, Almaden and a long-term relationship. Uh, I've got to think that's important in your business, especially a business that's been operating as long as you have, and building those long-term relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. A company or an individual, they might not need our services. There might be a 5-year break between, them needing to sell used equipment or buy used equipment. So it's, yeah, the longevity of the relationships is really important to us. And to always, basically to always do what you say you're going to do. In our business is really important, because there's competition. There's other used equipment companies out there. So it's really, for us, it's following through, and back to the shipping. That's usually a lot of times where it breaks down. So just following up and making sure that everything gets delivered, and then I think just making sure that you represent equipment accurately. Um, you know, Used equipment is notorious. You get it, you don't know what you're getting. A lot of engineers,
I could tell you some stories.
I'm sure you could, especially underground. Underground is, because you don't necessarily know when you take a piece of underground equipment out of service, you don't necessarily know what you're taking out of service, and so just that's the most important thing, in my opinion, is just accurately representing what you're selling as best you can. If you don't know, say you don't know, and generally, you know, that works out pretty good for everybody.
Well, you've got uh, the breadth of service also interested me, because you're buying and selling, so you can represent clients, you can supply to clients. There's refurbishing, there's logistics. Uh, it's got to be a differentiator in your market, is that from start to finish, you can service a client.
Yeah, I mean, there's in our business, you have to be ready to tackle all of the challenges that come with. We always say selling, it's the easy part. Then the work
The
starts.
rest, yeah.
Yeah, because it's got to get from A to B. It has to be serviced. You have to inspect it, and as you know, these are pretty remote places. So, yeah, you really have to rely on your colleagues, your associates,
Your network, your
yeah,
partners.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, that's another important thing, is that network you've built over the years of uh, local groups that can support you in terms of refurbishing, in terms of inspection or whatever, I would assume.
yeah. I mean, a lot of times it's the sellers that we really have to rely on, um, and just finding good equipment owners, suppliers. They're end users. They're not in the sales business. So we have to educate them a little bit on the information that they need to provide, and that's all over the world. So that can be a challenge. Again, I think that's why people use us, because if you go find a piece of equipment if you're in Canada and it's in Australia, you know you can rely on the seller, or you can rely on our company that's been doing it for 30 plus years. And then if something goes wrong, we take the heat.
Yeah.
So it works out pretty good for the buyers.
And we talked earlier about Almaden and that type of plant. That's the other thing that caught my eye, is it's not just selling a piece of equipment. When you're looking at a processing plant, it's a complete plant, and there's lots involved in that. It's not just the bits and pieces. But uh, any other examples of projects like that you've taken on?
Yeah, another plant that we have available is in South America, in Uruguay, and you know that actually came for sale during COVID, so
Okay,
that was
an
really a
extra
challenge. And
challenge.
yeah, that was extra challenging. And yeah, that's a situation where it's not really a mining district per se. So we kind of have to, in that particular deal, we have to educate people on the local environment, which is really good.
Okay, okay, yeah.
But people don't, they're, because most mining people haven't worked there, they're not really aware of that. So that plant, yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful plant. It's a used plant, but it's really good shape, really well maintained. There's a small community, kind of a mining professional community there that has kind of built up around that mine. So they're all still in place. So if we sell the plant, they'll come in, dismantle it, package it, and possibly recommission it at
Well,
another project.
you mentioned that reminded me when we talk about logistics, and people sometimes think about shipping, but when you're taking on a complete plant like that, the disassembly and the packaging is so critical. Uh, you don't want to get a plant with it's like a puzzle with six pieces missing. You've got a problem, but that part of the process is important too.
Yeah, very much so. If you dismantle it wrong, it's done. You're going to double your workload
Yeah,
at the other end.
yeah,
So same with road headers. Those
oh,
Not
yeah.
everybody wants to go and pull a road header apart.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty much any large scale plants, equipment, you need to bring in experts, and those experts aren't always right next door.
And usually the experts aren't in-house. What I mean by that is if a company is asking you to do that, it's a project that they might be new to them, or possibly they don't have the in-house expertise to handle it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of mining companies, it's not something that they do every year, right? So they set up one mill and they run it for 10, 20 years, you hope. But yeah, they have engineering teams and everybody, of course, but they're not necessarily used equipment refurbishing experts. So yeah, that's where we come in, is bringing that network together to get it delivered to them and possibly recommission it.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to tell our viewers before we wind up the show?
Yeah, I guess for Savona equipment, we're always looking for good used equipment. Um, Try and build that network globally, not just locally. And if somebody has used equipment, or they're thinking about selling a used plant or used equipment, they're always welcome to reach out to us and talk to us and learn more about what that process is like. And then for buyers, they can rely on us to provide them accurate information and deliver it wherever they need it.
Okay, great. Well, I've got to say, the first time I heard about your company was on Mining Now. So the advertising's working.
Good.
And I'm so glad we had a chance to chat. I learned a lot about the company and all the great things that you're doing. So again, on behalf of CIM, thanks for supporting Mining Now, and thanks for joining us today. And just want to thank all our viewers for joining another episode of Mining Now, live from the PDAC Trade Show floor.